One of the things about shaitan is that he's always prepared, he's always ready to, he's always trying to trick us. He's always trying to get us to do haram and trying to trick us before we die. And one of the important things that we should always make sure that we fight the shaitan until death. We never leave him. I need to get to the second file. I can't see anything. Yeah. So basically, I was saying, going back to that again, is that we have to always fight the shaitan. One of the examples, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahimahullah, he was at his deathbed and he was in and out of consciousness. And what happened was the son was at his side, he was at his deathbed, and he heard his father saying over and over in his sleep, he was in and unconscious, and he's saying in his sleep over and over again that la ba'd, la ba'd. Kept on repeating this over and over again. He kept on repeating this again and again. Labad, meaning which means not yet, not yet. He kept on saying this, and his son, he was astonished. He's like, my father's a big scholar, and he's how is it possible that he's saying this in his deathbed? He thought that his father was afraid of dying. That the malaika, when they come to you at death, they come in the form of the malaika of rahmah and the malaika of adab. So the malaika of rahmah, when they come to you, they give you glad tidings, and then the malaika of adab, they come to you and they scare you, and they come to they're gonna punish you. So Imam Ahmad rahimahullah kept on saying labad, labad, and his son, he thought that his father was seeing something bad. He got afraid, and then he asked him later when he awoken from his unconsciousness. He asked him, what's going on? Why did you say that what you said? And he said that I saw the shaitan. He was standing at my side, and he was biting his nails. He was biting his fingers, actually, not his nails. He was biting his fingers and his nails, and he's saying that, Ahmad, you had escaped me. And he kept on saying to him, la ba'd, la ba'd, not yet, not yet. I hadn't escaped your grip until I die, until the last moment. And this is how the shaitan, he gets us. He tries to trick us, and that's why ilm is very necessary to learn, inshallah ta'ala, to protect ourselves from the talbis, iblis, from the deceptions of the shaitan. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll start with the next lesson. Bismillah ar-Rahim. Yes. No, actually this is mudaf, mudaf ilayh. You have alf is basically the number, which means 1,000, and then you have mudaf ilayh, which is the abid. So alf abid, 1,000 abid. Okay? Yeah, that's sifa mawsuf, yes. Wahid is describing faqih. So, and one of the things is, for example, if someone can, one of the sisters actually, I'd like to, if you can change faqihun wahid into feminine form, can you try to do that? Wahidatun, that's good, but what the mawsuf has to equal, remember? If you have wahidatun, you have barakallah fi. Faqihatun wahidatun, which means a female scholar, okay, female alima is more, so this is, just because the Prophet ﷺ said faqihun wahid, doesn't mean just the male scholar. So you could say, you could put in there faqihatun wahidatun as ashaddu ala shaitan min alf abid, or that abidatun, you could say also. Here, next lesson, inshallah ta'ala, bismillah ar-Rahim, we have the feminine words now. And the same thing, the nouns, demonstrating pronouns, and adjectives. Okay? So nouns, which was asma, we have the demonstrative pronouns, which was ism ishara, and then we have the pronouns, which is dama'ir. And the exact adjectives, which were sifat. Okay, sifat, which describes something. So the first thing is we have to find out how do we know a word is feminine. and I told you yesterday, inshallah, we're going to learn today. How do we know? How can we find out? What are the signs? How can we, point out and recognize that a word is feminine or not? One of the first things, and the easiest things, is if it has a ta marbuta. Okay, if it has ta marbuta. Marbuta is from rabt, which means to tie something. So marbuta means the tie. It's the tied ta. First you have the open ta, maftuha, which is the open ta, which is like the alif ba ta, how we have in the qaida. We read the alif ba ta. And then marbuta is the ta, it's the round ta or the tied ta, because it's tied like a rope. Okay, and this ta marbuta, if you see it in a word, about 99% of the time you could say it's a feminine word. There are exceptions, and there's a lot of exceptions, and that's why we're not going to go over the exceptions in Arabic, because there's a lot, but there are some exceptions. For example, can someone name a sahabi, a male sahabi who had a ta marbuta at the end?
Sayyidina Hamza.
Good, barakallahu feek. Hamza, Osama, barakallahu feek. Muawiyah. Okay, you have all these different names. They end with ta marbuta. Okay, but because they end with ta marbuta doesn't mean they're feminine. Because it's the name of a male. It's masculine. Okay, so that's the exception I was talking about. But anyway, the general rule is if there's a ta marbuta at the end, it is a feminine word. So some examples over here. We have imra'atun. Imra'atun, which means a woman. Okay, and the plural of imra'a is nisa'un. Okay, nisa'un is the plural of imra'a. And then we have jannah. Jannah, which means a garden. Okay, and then the jama of that is jinan, or it could be also jannat. Okay, jannat or jinan. Another example, we have ayah, ayatun. Okay, we went over that yesterday, the meaning of ayah. Ayat is the jama of that, or ayi, that's also another, but ayat is most likely used. Another way to know if a word is feminine or not is if it's referring to a female, something that can be only a female. Okay, so here, for example, we have and ukht. Okay, is a mother. Okay, a mother, and even though it doesn't have the round ta, it doesn't have the ta marbuta at the end, but it's something that is referring to a woman, so that's why that's is a feminine word. Ukht also, ukht, and the jama of is ummahat. We have, ummahat al-muslimin. We hear that a lot. Ummahat al-muslimin, meaning the mothers of the Muslimin. Ummahat al-mu'minin, the mothers of the believers. Okay, and we have ukht. Ukht is a sister, and the jama of that is akhawat. Okay, jama of that is akhawat. Another way we can find out if a word is if a word is feminine or not is if it's a part of a body, if it's part of the body that comes in pairs. Okay, so we have for example here yadun, which means a hand. Okay, yadun is a hand, and the jama of that is id. Okay, id is the jama of yadun. Then we have ayn, which is an eye. Okay, an eye, and you have ayun or a'yun, that's the jama of ayn, which means an eye. We have udhunun, which means like an ear. Okay, and the jama of that is adhan. We have qadamun, which means a foot, and then we say aqdam, which is the feet. Okay, and what this means is, if you want to describe any of these words, why don't you guys try? If you want to raise your hand, please raise your hand. If you can put one of these as a mawsuf sifa relationship. So let me see. We used ahmar and hamra yesterday, right? So red. So let's say if you say red eye. We have red eye flights nowadays. So red eye. Can someone say red eye? Aynun ahmar. Very close. Very close. But ahmar is what type of word? Is it gender-wise? It's masculine. So that was, I'm sorry, someone said? Hamra. Good. Barakallahu feekum. Okay? Aynun hamra. Okay? A red eye. Aynun hamra. A red eye. And we see that ayn, even though it doesn't have the ta marbuta, and it doesn't have any other signs, it's not a gender-based, like it's not a woman, it's not something like that. So we use aynun hamra because this is a a body part that comes in a pair. Okay, so any one of these you could say, like qadamun, okay, for example, qadamun. So you have qadamun yusra, qadamun yusra, the left foot, okay, or qadamun yumna, which means the right foot, okay. Next, another way we can know, another way we learn if a word is feminine or not, is a word that we have to find. We have to go to the Arab. We have to go to the Ahlul Lugha, we have to go to either the Arab, the people who speak the language, or we can go to the Quran and Sunnah. And this is how we learn generation after generation. You learn from them, we learn from them what words are feminine or not. And we're going to go over that inshallah when we go to the examples from the Quran. We're going to go over which words are told to us in the Quran used as feminine, and that's how we know it's feminine. And some of these, I know in the book, the typesetting is messed up, and okay, here it looks pretty good. But we have Shams. Shams, which is a sun. Okay, Shamsun is a sun. Not saying Ash-Shams. Ash-Shams would make it definite, meaning the sun or the sun. But we have Shamsun, which is indefinite, a sun, just any sun. Okay, we know that this is not the only sun. There's other suns out there, other stars out there. Shamsun, a sun. And the Jama of Shams is Shumus. Shumus. Okay. Sama'un, Sama'un, which means a sky, or it could be a heaven, okay? And the Jama of that is Asma, okay? Sorry, Samawat, what am I saying? Ismun and Asma, but we have here Sama'un and Samawat, okay? Samawat, which means skies, or heavens, okay? And this is also a feminine word. Harb, Harb, which means war, okay? A war. Hurub is Jama of that. We have Nafs, Nafsun, which means a soul, and we have Nufus or Anfus, which is a Jama of that. Also we have Sabil, Sabil, which means a way or a path, okay? And the Jama of that is Subul, okay? Subul. Next we have Nar, which is fire, okay? And we have Niran, which is the Jama of that, Niran, fires. Jahannam, okay? Jahannam, which is hellfire. And this is the name of Jahannam, the name of hellfire, and it is used as feminine in the Quran. Also Dar, the last one, Dar and Diyar. Diyarun is the Jama of Darun, and this is a house. This is also feminine. And we're going to go over some examples of those words in the Quran. Next, go to demonstrative pronoun, the Ism Ishara, feminine type. We have Ism Ishara that again used to substitute, to point towards something, okay? And yesterday with the two Ism Isharat we learned were ذَلِكَ أَنْ تِلْكَ بَارَكَ اللَّهُ فِيكُمْ, this and that, okay? Masculine, ذَلِكَ هَذَا, which is masculine for this, and ذَلِكَ for that. And today we'll learn that هَذِهِ and تِلْكَ. هَذِهِ means this, and feminine, when you're pointing towards something that's feminine, feminine word, or a female or something like that. And you have tilka, which means that, okay, for something that's... What's the difference between hadihi and tilka? How do we know to use hada and dhalika, or hadihi and tilka? When something is? Barakallah feek. Okay, so qareeb and ba'id. Okay, so if qareeb, something that's close, you're going to use either hadihi or hada, and something that's ba'id or far away, you're going to use dhalika or tilka. Okay, so that's how we differentiate between those two. So again, that using these, we can join it together with another word to make a complete sentence. Okay, so for example, here we have هذه امرأة. This is a woman. هذه امرأة. This is a woman. تلك امرأة. That is a woman. Okay. هذه جنة. This is a garden. And تلك جنة. That is a garden. هذه آية. This is an ayah, and tilka ayatun, that is an ayah. Okay? So we see in the Quran, it's all the tilka ayat, for example, it's used as Jama form, or tilka ayat. Those are signs, and it's used so on and so forth in the Quran. Are we okay so far? Any questions? No? Okay, inshallah. Next, dama'ir, like we went over yesterday, the damir, which is a pronoun, okay, which is used to replace. And again, like I said, just like in English, we don't want to say a person's name over and over again in the same sentence. but we want to replace it. You can say he or she, and you can replace it, or it, and replace it like that. So here we say huwa was used for masculine, and for the feminine we use hiya, which means she. Okay, hiya was a she. And inshallah ta'ala, we're going to go over the chart in a couple lessons. You have huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna, for example, and the whole chart. We'll go over that inshallah and memorize that, so we know all the pronouns, and we know if it's referring to a singular male or female, or a dual male or female, or whatever it's referring to, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so here we have these words, pronouns also. Pronouns, just like the ism ishara, we can join it with another word to make it a complete sentence. Okay, so here for examples, hiya imra'atun, hiya jannatun, hiya ayatun. Okay, very simple. She is, or she is a woman, and then we said that hiya, when it's something that, when it's translated in English, the English language has masculine, and it has feminine, and then it has, you could say transgender, or you could say something that's in between. You could say it, but in Arabic, you don't have that. We have either it's masculine or it's feminine. That's it. Okay, also, hiya is used when referring to an object or something which is ghayr aqil. Aqil, can someone tell me what does aqil mean? Intelligence, right? Aqal. Aqal is something when we have intelligence. Aqil is something who has, dhu aqlin, someone who has intelligence. So here we have aqil, and ghayr aqil, someone who does not have intelligence. So aqil is actually, even though sometimes animals are smart and they have, they know things and they can learn things, monkeys and these kind of things, they can learn things, whatever. But you have aqil in the sense of intellect of humans, jinn, and malaika. These three are the categories of the aqil. So anything other than that is unintelligent, is ghayr aqil. So when referring to those ghayr aqil, when it's jama, then it will be used, when it's plural, when it's jama or plural, then it will be used as hiya, which means they. Okay? So one of the examples here, we have jannatun wasi'ah. Jannatun wasi'ah. Hiya jannatun wasi'ah. And this is what kind of relationship is this in this world, in this word, in this sentence? Mawsuf sifa. Okay? Mawsuf sifa, mawsuf being jannat, the gardens. What type of gardens? How are you describing? They are wide and vast gardens. Okay? So hiya jannatun wasi'ah. Here, hiya is referring to jannatun wasi'ah. It's pointing towards that and used towards that, referring to that. It's instead of saying hunna, we don't say hunna. This is for plural, the female plural. Hunna, we don't say hunna jannatun wasi'ah, but because it's ghayr aqil, we say hiya jannatun wasi'ah. Now, if I want to say, for example, if I was talking about muslimat, for example, or mu'minat, okay? If I was talking about actual women, what would we use? How would we say they are pious women? Hiya, would you say hiya? Or something else? You could say hunna, actually, okay? So you have hiya, remember it says ghayr aqil for the plural of ghayr aqil. The plural of an aqil would be hunna. You would use it as hunna as a pronoun. So you have hunna mu'minatun salihat. They are righteous women. Okay, hunna would be used for aqil. So if you're talking about female from the insurgent, because the malaika are not female, there's no gender, but for the insurgent, if you're talking about that, you would say hunna, meaning they. Okay, another thing is next is the adjectives. Okay, we talked about adjectives yesterday, the sifat. Okay, sifa, and another word that is used in place of sifa is na'at. Remember we talked about that yesterday. Na'at, you'll see that in the books. But we have sifa. The sifa again comes after the mawsuf, and it has to match the mawsuf in four things. Okay, even if it's male or female. Here's the jins, which is male or female. Ta'rif, definite, indefinite. I'rab, which is the ending, which is if it's dhamma, if it's fatha, if it's kasra. And then we have the adad, which is the number. Okay. One example here from the Quran. Fiha aynun jariyah. Jariyatun. Okay. In it okay, in it meaning in Jannah, are what? Aynun Jariya, are flowing rivers, okay, flowing rivers. So here we have a flowing spring, spring. So you have Aynun Jariya. Ayn, we said that it means also what? What does it mean? Eye, okay. Another meaning of Ayn is a spring, or it could be like a fountain or spring, or kind of like that flowing, something that flows, like that. Ayn, and the jam of that ayun, and then Jariya. Jariya is from Jara Yajri Jariyatan, or Jariyan, which means to run, okay, to flow or to run. So what type of Ayn, what type of spring is this? It's a Jariyatan, it's a flowing spring. Okay, so in the Jannah, inshallah, Allah make us one of those from Jannah, there will be flowing springs, so there will be a flowing spring. And again, this is the Mawsuf Sifa relationship, and here the jins is feminine, so this Ayn is a feminine word, and Jariyatun is feminine also. Okay, and here this is one of those words that Ayn, even though this is it's not referring to the eye, it's not referring to something that comes in a pair, and it does not have a ta marbuta at the end, okay, and it's not referring to a woman, a female. So the fourth thing we talked about earlier is the fourth way to learn if a word is feminine or not is referring back to what? The two things we refer back to? Ahl al-Lugha, the people of the language, and the books, okay, or the Quran and Sunnah. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, the Quran and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, we look towards that. Here in the Quran, Allah SWT says, فِيهَا عَيْنٌ جَارِيَةٌ. Ayn is used as the sifa of Ayn, of the adjective of Ayn. Here is feminine, so that means it is a feminine word.
Question.
Yes?
You say that after a mawsul and must agree with it in four things. So they all have to be true?
Yes, they all have to be true. Yes.
They have to be.
Yes, they have to be true. Okay. So, like for example, let's go over this again. Aynun Jariya. Okay, Jariyatun. Ayn itself, it's talking about one. Actually, it's singular. Jariyatun. Okay, is Jariyatun means singular also. It's flowing, and then you have what's called indefinite. Okay, it's indefinite. Ayn is indefinite, it has a tanween at the end. Jariyatun also has tanween. Also, the Arab matches, they both end with the Dhamma. Okay, they have Aynun Jariyatun. So this is how they match. Okay, you see how they match. Okay, now, actually, a good question. If you want to go talk about the exception again, one of the exceptions, remember there's always exceptions to some rules. These four have to be true, okay? But then there's sometimes exceptions. One of them is what we just talked about earlier, is when you have a jama, when you have a plural of a ghayr aqil, the sifa will be referred, or the pronoun, or the demonstrative pronoun, or the adjective, they will be the singular plural, singular feminine form, okay? So we're gonna go over that inshallah in the next slide. We'll go over that. Here, from some more examples of the Sifa Mawsuf relationship here, we have Muslimatun Salihatun. Okay, Muslimatun Salihatun, so which means a righteous Muslimah, a righteous Muslim woman. Okay, Muslimah is the Mawsuf, it's the thing being described. What type of Muslim are you talking about? I'm talking about a Salihah, a righteous woman, okay, righteous Muslim woman. Risalatun Tawila. Okay, and Salihah, this is from Saliha Yaslihu, which means to be upright, to be righteous, to become perfect, to be good. Okay, Risalatun Tawila, Risalatun Tawilatun, which means a lengthy or long message, or email, or letter, or whatever it means. So, Risalatun Tawila. And here Mawsuf is Risala, and what type of Risala are you talking about? I'm talking about a long letter, a long email. Okay, Risalatun Tawila. Tawila comes from Tala Yatulu Tawlan, which means to be lengthy, something that's tul, something that's long. Okay, so Tawila is something that's long, a long email. Ibadatun Maqbula. Ibadah, which means worship. From Abada Ya'budu, Ibadatun, which means to worship. And then we have Maqbula. Okay, Maqbula, which means to be accepted.